Here we have some dandelion greens that I have washed. I just washed them and rinsed them in this old beat up colander that I use for greens collection, and they are ready to go into the pot of boiling water, where I will then boil them for about 15 minutes. Now the water is boiling nice and hot, and we put the dandelion greens in here, and we will set the timer for 15 minutes. Put the lid on, and we'll come and check these, and they should be done and good to go. Well, here are the greens, and they look to be about done. And now we will drain them. And here are our greens in the colander, ready to be chopped up and used however we desire, or you could just mix them with some olive oil and a balsamic vinaigrette and eat them as is. A little bit of salt and pepper, and you're ready to go that way. Do be aware that if you use a plastic colander like this one, it will stain it. That's why this colander looks a bit ratty. It's had about 2 years worth of greens in it, particularly dandelions, and the latex milk that it excretes will cause it to turn brown after a while. So if you use a plastic colander, just be aware that it will turn kind of funky colored after a while, but it won't do that with metal. So if you have a metal colander, it's probably the one that you want to use. Here I have a pan on medium heat that I've put a generous amount of olive oil into, and we're going to let the olive oil heat up while I cut up the mushrooms. These are going to be Dryad Saddle, and I'm going to thinly slice them and saute them, after which I am going to add some wild garlic. I am chopping up some fresh Dryad Saddle mushroom that I collected the other day, Polypora squamosus, and it's going to go directly into our lovely meal. Now the mushrooms are all cut up and they're ready to go into the saute pan. I've got some cracked black pepper here and some ancient sea salt, and I'm going to cover it and saute it for a few minutes, and then I'm going to throw the garlic, the wild garlic greens, on top of there. Here we have some wild garlic greens that I collected yesterday, and I'm going to be chopping them up and putting them to saute with the wild mushrooms. Here the wild garlic greens are chopped up and ready to go into the saute. Now I don't use the bulbs. I pull the plants and snap them off the bulbs and leave the bulbs in the ground to grow back next year. I just use the greens, and then I chop up the entirety of the greens and use that. They taste pretty close to the bulbs, and this way the plant can grow back and doesn't kill the plant. You notice I've moved the mushrooms to the side and put the garlic right in the middle of the pan to saute. And I put a little bit more olive oil in there to help it saute a little better. Now I'm going to put the lid on for a few minutes and let it do its thing while I go chop up the dandelions that we had boiled for about 15 minutes. Here we have our dandelions that we've boiled, and they are ready to be cut up and put into our saute. Here our dandelions are all chopped up and ready to go. I've added the dandelions and some cracked black pepper and a little more salt, and it looks like it's almost ready to go here. Put the lid on for a few minutes and let that steam and saute a bit, and it'll be ready to go. And then you can put it over noodles or rice or what have you. We prefer rice, so this will probably be going over a bed of rice. And here we are, it is done and ready to be served. You can saute it for a little bit longer or a little less time, depending on how crunchy and crispy you may like it. We like our wild garlic and our mushrooms to be a tiny bit on the crunchy side for this particular dish, so we tend to saute it for a little bit longer. But if you saute it for a few minutes less, they will come out much less crispy. And there we have it. All done and ready to enjoy. And here is dandelions, Dryad Saddle, wild garlic, some salt and pepper over a nice bed of rice. Absolutely delicious.